Daisuke Amaya, Toby Fox, Eric Barone. What do all these names have in common? Well, they developed highly successful indie games, almost all by themselves. These people created their games with little or no outside assistance, and became role models for future indie game developers. This video aims to serve as a cautionary tale of how not to go about developing your own indie game. This is the story of the rise and fall of Yandere Dev. Now before I start, I would like to warn you that this video may be quite long. Now before I tried to keep things concise, I tried to keep things short and sweet, especially with the Jahan's video. But this time we're kind of delving into rabbit holes within rabbit holes here. So feel free to listen to this in the background whilst you're playing games or doing whatever. And I will show you some stuff that you have to look at, but it should be far and few in between, so anyway, you should be fine. Now let's begin. On April 1st of 2014, OneAnon posted a thread on 4V discussing the game mechanics of a Yandere simulator. The premise was quite simple. It's set in a school, you pick a boy, you stalk him, and then you kill girls who flirt with or talk to him. It became a mix of a Hitman-style stealth gameplay with a dating simulator experience. The threads became a place to discuss the finer details and mechanics of this Yandere simulator, and as time went on, this OneAnon was known as Yandere Dev, and early game prototypes began to emerge. Soon enough, many Anons predicted the eventual future in which the Let's Play community would pick up on the game. It's hard to say when exactly they picked up on the game, but PewDiePie made his first Yandere simulator video on March of 2015. As a result, the game became a mainstream hit, and the small project on V was launched into the stratosphere. The consequences of this wouldn't be fully realized until much later on, but we'll get back to that. However, for now, this small little project became a mainstream success before it even has come out. Now, to truly analyze Yandere Dev, we must unfortunately take a trip down memory lane. Now, of course, when delving into subjects like these, it's important to recognize that people do change over time. And they make silly mistakes. It's as simple as that. They make silly mistakes when they're younger that they learn to regret later on. However, I would not be investigating this aspect of Yandere Dev if it did not serve a particular purpose. The purpose behind this I will explain later on, but just take note of the attitudes and behaviors of Yandere Dev for later on in the video. This solo indie game developer, this Yandere Dev, did have a name before adopting Yandere Dev. This name was Eva Zephon. Now, Eva Zephon was a website dedicated to making a comprehensive gallery of every similarity between Neon Genesis Evangelion and Ra Zephon, as he saw Ra Zephon ripping off Neon Genesis Evangelion. This Eva Zephon would be his name from around about 2006 to pretty much he uses it now. Please take note that when going into these screen caps, look at the avatar name, look at who's writing these posts. If it isn't Eva Zephon, then it's most likely a variation of Eva Zephon, like Zephon Eva, or any other kind of variation. Now, Yandere Dev or Eva Zephon's first interactions with the internet were on Gaia Online and the Losers Forum, around about the years of 2006 to 2008, give or take. Throughout this period, Yandere Dev, or Eva for short, would reveal aspects of his life to the public. These were posts that he willingly did and shared with others on the internet. These posts turn out to be quite representative of the attitudes and beliefs of Eva, and you'll see the repetition of this later on. Now let's look through some of the posts on Gaia Online. Let's look into the inner thoughts of Yandere Dev or Eva Zephon, or on Gaia Online, it was also known as Not Depressed Anymore. Now let's look through this one post which became quite famous for many reasons, but let's just kind of go line by line and just see the kind of attitudes and behaviors being expressed in this post. So on April 18th of 2008, Eva Zephon posted on Gaia Online this very famous post. He basically complains about his face, about his so-called silly face, that's how he describes it. He says this: "I've been jokingly told several times that I look creepy or have a creepy face. I'm 20 years old, but no girl has ever flirted with me or told me that I'm attractive. So I'm starting to feel that this is true. I guess my face makes me look like a creepy weird guy, so no one wants to go to get to know me or be around me. Then he starts to... So, you see, the thing with this post is he decides to post 3 pictures of his face to try and provide an example. Which is... It's unwarranted. It's silly. He's 20 years old. He's not like a child, okay? And he goes around posting his face online in such a weird way, in such a, like a... Woe is me! Oh, look at my silly face! And it's to gather pity, it's to gather kind of sympathy, it's attention whoring. Like, seriously, it's attention whoring. Except it's like a guy instead of a girl. Anyway, he continues on. I've always been conscious of certain parts of my face. Nose, overbite, large ears, and I'm wondering if other people are as unhappy with my face as I am. I can't help being born with certain features. It's out of my hands. I can only fix it with surgery that costs thousands of dollars. But is there anything I can do to hide or improve certain features of my face? Here he goes with the second picture, with the kind of side profile. Looks like he's in jail or something like that. Yeah. What do I need to say? I mean, you can just... Who's taking these pictures? Who's taking them? Is he taking them? I don't understand. I don't know, man. God. What a fucking mess, dude. Anyway, he continues. He keeps on going. He keeps on going. He says, I used to have short hair, but it's now longer. I have no idea how to style it or what to do with it. It's frizzy and sticks out like an afro, so there's nothing I can do to style it. Should I grow it longer, cut it shorter, or make an attempt at going for a certain style? Is there any way to permanently straighten your hair? How about temporarily, like a month or so? Then he does this really fucking smug front picture. You can probably see it in the overlay, in the, the Yandere Dev with the fucking blimp blowing up, as you can see right now. But I don't understand. Why would someone do this? Why would someone go out of the way to post 3 pictures of their face and in the same breath complain about how silly it looks, complain about how creepy it looks? I mean, this is what he's describing. I'm not going to say anything. I don't really care about what someone looks like. I mean, sure, there's a little bit of a dewy nose, but I mean, it's really evident that he does have self-image problems. He finishes up, lastly, by saying, I'm sad that no girl has ever shown any interest in me, and I'm really afraid that the problem might be the very structure of my face itself. Something I just can't fix. I'm a nice, friendly guy, and I just wanted people to give me a chance. See, a pattern begins to emerge here. If you haven't noticed already, he has a lot of resentment for being a virgin, for not having a girlfriend. He loves to complain about this. It's not just this post. This post is quite minimal. But many posts he brings this up. He brings up the fact that he doesn't have a girlfriend. He brings up the fact that people find him not attractive. Either way, this pattern is very prevalent later on in his life. You will see this again and again. Either, kind of very, very slightly, very minimally, or quite significantly. Okay? So just keep in mind that this is who Eva Zephon, this is who Yandere Dev is. This is at least in his 20s, at least in his early years. I think this video quite accurately sums it up. At least mockingly. I don't know.
I never get pussy. I never got any pussy. It's too nice. I'm always so nice to the girls, and they just end up dating these guys, and they're terrible to them. They never give me pussy. I really want a blowjob. I've never had one. It's because I pay for the meals. Afterwards, they don't respect me because I'm too nice to them. she said that she liked the coat, and I just thought if I bought it for her, she would finally give me something. I don't even have to touch my penis. I just want to eat the I don't even care. I just want to make girls feel good. I don't understand. I'm so respectful. I say, I'll lick your pussy. You don't have to do anything. I just want to feel it.
Okay, so, okay, maybe I've gone a little bit too far with the mocking, but this is the very first kind of indication, a very good example of the attitudes and behaviors of Yandere Dev. So let's go a bit further. Let's see what else has he shared with Gaia Online. Eva Zephon, or in this case, not depressed anymore, posts this on a forum. I fantasize about killing my parents. What should I do? I can't, yeah, what a title. What a title. And it goes like this. My dad is obsessed with my getting into college. Think of a born-again Christian who is obsessed with his son getting into heaven. He keeps on telling me how if I don't study, I won't do well in school, and if I don't do well in school, I won't get into a college, and if I don't graduate college, I'll fail at life and be a bum forever, as opposed to being a rich success. Foreshadowing? He sounds exactly like those Jesus freaks who say if you don't love Jesus, you won't get into heaven, and you'll go to hell forever. He is obsessed with the thought of college, harassing me about it all day long, and even personally insulting me whenever I disagree with him. I hate him. I hate him so much. I don't love my father anymore. He's an asshole. He's so mean to me. All he has to say to me are mean things. I feel like my father died and was replaced by a horrible monster who delights in torturing me. I hate him so much, I wish he would just disappear from my life. I want to make him disappear from my life. I want to kill him. I want to kill him with my bare hands. I want to strangle him to death. I probably couldn't do that though. So I always fantasize about using a knife. While he's sleeping, I sneak into his room and plunge the knife right into his throat. Stab him over and over and over while screaming at him, what a horrible father, what a horrible person he is. And right as he realizes it's me, he'll die. Then I'll have to kill my mum. She's a total bitch anyway. I'd like it if she died too. All she does is get mad at me for things I didn't do or have no control over or aren't my fault. Every day, I get more and more angry and grow more and more hateful towards those stupid, horrible people. I want them both to die. I feel like I'm eventually going to do something absolutely horrible to them. What should I do? Do I need to say anything more? So this is around about the same time. Series around about like 20 years old. Okay, maybe even a little bit younger, maybe 19. And he's fantasizing. He's sharing to this forum. He's sharing to this website about his fantasies about killing his parents. Killing his parents. Okay, maybe he was in the heat of the moment. Maybe he was just angry. Maybe he was just a little bit upset. Maybe they did something that upset him and he went off to his computer and typed up on Gaia Online this little manifesto here. You know, it reminds me of a little bit of Elliot Roger almost, but maybe it's just me. Now, how did this Eva Zephon, how did this guy get to this point? I mean, it's very silly. It's very outrageous. But a normal person just doesn't end up like this. And he describes what actually happened. He describes his little personal backstory. And it actually becomes very telling. You know, his behaviors, his attitudes later on are stemmed from this event, from what he describes. So he describes himself, he's still the woe is me kind of, attitude, kind of, it's very silly, come on. And he describes his past. Here he says, I'm 20 years old, so he's still 20 years old at this point. When I was 12, my parents started homeschooling me. I didn't have any friends and I was perfectly fine with staying home. So I spent the next 6 years staying inside of my house and playing video games. I became so accustomed to staying home all day that now I'm uncomfortable with leaving my house. I don't have any interest in doing things outside of my house. I have way more fun when I'm home than I do anywhere else. So I enjoy playing video games way more than doing anything else. I just have no interest whatsoever in anything outside of my home. Now that, it all makes sense now, doesn't it? He became homeschooled at the age of 12, apparently due to a bullying incident. And as a result, he stayed inside all day, played video games, and, he lived the neat life. Pretty much, he lived the neat life for 6 years. Now, of course, he was still younger then, so, it's not really neat, but, he lived a life that is quite typical of a neat, to stay in home, play video games, watch TV. And this has a profound impact on EvaZephon, on Yandere Dev. Now, I know I repeat myself all the time, but this is the starting point to how he acts, to how he behaves, all up until today, all up until right now. This is the event that sets him on the path towards Yandere Dev. Now, there's nothing else really to this post. I mean, he's just talking about never having a girlfriend, never having a sex life. So I think I've gone on for a little bit too long about some of the posts on Guy Online and all that. I'll just flash by a few of the other interesting posts. I don't need to read them out, but you can pause and look at them if you want. Although there is this one post that just can't get over. So of course, being a sheltered neat, EvaZephon loves to he plays video games. He loves to play video games, and he was playing a video game in 2006. He was playing this one video game by the name of Reupload. Now, if you don't know what Reupload is, I'm not going to tell you, because you gotta do that research yourself. But in this one post, he decides to go on a forum and asks how to progress in the game, in this Reupload game. I'm just gonna show. I'm not even gonna read that shit out. I cannot read that shit out. This is kind of important because this kind of Reupload game does have a lot of similarities between that and Yandere Simulator. There are some similarities there. There's some influences present. This is all the way back in 2006, and nearly over 10 years later, it's still having its effects. But it's just weird. It's really weird that someone would go out, this guy, he fucking uses the same name all the time, so you can always see who it is, and he asks about how to beat this fucking Reupload game. It's absolutely just outrageous. So, let's just go forward in time, because we're going to be here all day if we're just going to go through every single Guy Online post that Eva or Yandere Dev has posted. So we're moving forward to 2010, and EvaZephon, our Yandere Dev, has his own forum, his own little forum called EvaX Forum. And basically it was a so-called private forum between him and his friends, in which he would kind of discuss various topics like video games, anime, whatever it is. There's nothing too special here. There's this post here where he kind of describes how much of a weeaboo he is. 3 anime figures, 3 posters, 30 anime box sets, and he only rates himself as a 7.0 weeaboo. However, we get to see more of Eva, more of Yandere Dev, through video clips that he himself made. This here is a clip that he posted, congratulating his friend on pirating Warcraft 3.
I, Eva X, humbly submit a toast to Nicholas Alexander for successfully managing to pirate Warcraft 3 so that he may play Defense of the Ancients. Congratulations, Nick. Enjoy your Dota.
So this little forum, this little side attraction here, is only just another example that EvaZephon has a presence on the internet. He has a track record, so you can follow up where he's been, what he says. So we're going to continue in that fashion. We're going to continue to see what kind of breadcrumbs he leaves behind. So before he started Yandere Simulator, EvaZephon, Yandere Dev, had interest in other creative works. Firstly, he created a hentai dating sim back in 2005, In this forum post, he asks about the file size in regards to submitting his hentai dating sim on Newgrounds. So YandereDev, our Yandere Dev, not only made hentai dating simulators, but also he had his own fanfiction page. He submitted and made his own works of art, his own godly works of literature, such as The Life of a Sex Slave or I Am Your Slave. In these writings, YandereDev goes into excruciating detail of, well, just look at the title and you know what kind of ride you're in for. You know, I've read through some of it. I've read through the first chapter or so, especially one part about a female character being underage. I don't know, man. I don't think I want to continue. I'm getting a little bit of a bad feeling about this. But thankfully, someone else took it upon themselves, oh, God bless their soul, to read out this fucking War and Peace of a sex slave fanfiction. And here are a few bits from that.
Master, are you feeling well?
Tira, there is something I want.
Is it something I can do for you? Please say yes.
Yes, it is, Tira.
Oh, please let me appease your desires, Master.
Siegfried took a deep breath. Tira, I want to touch you. Would you let me do that?
Of course, Master. I'd let you do anything to me. You don't have to ask.
Siegfried looked down at Tira's
boobs.
He hastily removed his gloves from his hands, and they fell to the floor with heavy thumps. After a moment's hesitation, he placed his bare hands on Tira's chest and spent a few moments simply enjoying the sensation before he began to fondle and massage her boobs in his hands. The more he touched her, the more his lust grew. After searching for the string to pull in order to untie the laces that held her top together, he found it and pulled it with nervously trembling fingers. As he'd imagined at quite a few times by now, the center of the top split down the middle, exposing Tira's boobs fully. He continued to fondle her boobs, now able to move them more freely. After his arousal had grown even more, he closed his eyes and lowered his head until his face was pressing into her boobs. He moved his head around, rubbing his face against her boobs, and planted soft kisses across them, letting his tongue slip out of his mouth slightly to drag it across her chest. When his lips found the nipple of her right breast, he suckled on it. By now, his pants were causing him extreme discomfort. Siegfried lay on his back, and Tira climbed atop him. She followed the same path that his lips had taken, from his lips to his shoulder to his chest. And when she continued going lower, tension began to mount between them. When Tira finished with his abdomen, she looked at his dick and caressed it gently, thinking to herself, wondering how best to approach this situation. She began by lightly kissing the tip, which made Siegfried shut his eyes tight, tip his head back, grip the bedsheets tightly, and groan slightly with desire for more. Tira slipped her tongue past her green lips and swirled it around and around the head of his dick.
Master, you taste good.
Tira took the head of his dick into her mouth and sucked on it lightly. Roused by her own actions, she sucked on it harder and harder, licking it as she did so, driving Siegfried wild. She took more and more of him into her mouth until she had taken the full length of his dick in. She moved her lips up and down his shaft, sucking and licking it all the while, gently moaning as she did so, sending vibrations against it that pleasured Siegfried even more. When she was done, she drew her tongue down the shaft to his balls. She treated them as he had treated her boobs, licking them, kissing them, and sucking on them, all the while running her hand up and down Siegfried's shaft. When she felt like moving on, she licked his inner thighs.
Tira! Oh, want me to go back, Master?
Actually, there was something else.
Name it, Master.
Put my dick in between.
Now, didn't I warn you? Didn't I warn you what kind of ride you're in for? This kind of work of literature. This beautiful, beautiful story of a life of a sex slave. Of a slave to a master. Isn't it just touching? Isn't it just beautiful? You know, it reminds me of Jahans, Alexander Jahans. You know, maybe there's a few connections there that we could investigate a little bit later on. But touching on this for now, is significant, because we're going to see echoes of this sort of behavior, of this sort of kind of... It's a little bit weird, isn't it? It is weird. I'll say this again and again, but it's really weird, okay? But we see influences of this later on. So, whilst it is true that it has been a while, 2005, since Eva wrote this piece of literature, it is still showing influences today, and we're going to see that. We'll see it. Eva Zephon also had 2 YouTube channels. So they were called Eva Zephon, which is the more popular one, the more well-known one, the more recently used one, and Zephon Eva. Both of them are owned by the same person, Yandere Dev. Now, the Eva Zephon channel was started way back in 2006. It's probably his first channel that he ever made, and its last post was surprisingly on January 1st of 2017. So he still most likely uses it to this day, but there's nothing too out of the ordinary here. It's just kind of different shit posts, really. He probably uses this account as like a secondary, to comment on other people's videos or to subscribe to other people's stuff without having it associated with the Yandere Dev name. However, Zephon Eva is a whole nother story. It's his other channel, and we're going to be focusing on this one today. So from the very start, he has his likes public. Who the fuck puts the likes on public? What kind of retard does that shit? So you can see some of the videos he's liked as well, and they speak for themselves, don't they? Just take a look at them. Now, of course, you may be thinking, Rubble, this can't be him. It must be someone else. Maybe you've confused Eva Zephon with another guy. Maybe it's just all coincidence. But we have this confirmation, 2 videos in fact, which confirm that it is him.
It costs $40 to sleep with those 2, $60 to sleep with Mia, $90 to sleep with Haruhi, $100 to sleep with Saki. Let's see, either $30 or $55 to sleep with that one. Only $30 for that girl, she must be unpopular. $100 for Haruhi again. $80 to sleep with, darn, have I forgotten her name? Miyuki. Ray doesn't have a price, maybe she's free. Oh God, no. In case you were wondering what it's like to be at Anime Expo, this is what it looks like.
As you can see, he uses the same voice, he uses the same talking points, he's doing the same thing, so it is him. It is definitely him. But apart from uploading real-life videos, he's also posted a few gameplay stuff, and the titles are they're quite questionable. It's nothing to be suspicious of, such as Snake interrogates Paz, Snake chases Paz, Paz in her underwear, Snake seduces Paz, and in one of the descriptions, he says that Snake is 39 and Paz is 16. Yeah. Alright. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to accuse anyone of anything, but, it's quite questionable, okay? Eva Zephon also wrote his own articles for his little known LA Video Game Babes Examiner. The bio for the Twitter of the Examiner page reads, keeping you up to date on everything related to video game babes, with a link to the little Examiner page. So obviously this little community, this little Examiner page, is basically just discussing this one topic, video game babes. There's nothing particularly wrong with this, it's just a little peculiar. But how do we know that the owner of this is Eva Zephon, our little known Yandere Dev? Well, let's take a look at one of the articles this Examiner page wrote. So we have this article posted on May the 7th of 2015, and it discusses the inclusion of DLC for some anime high school game, where the characters are given micro bikinis in the DLC. And the author of this article? None other than Alex Mahan, who, looking at the picture, is the same person as the Eva Zephon that we saw in the previous Guy Online posts. Additionally, we have the kind of full bio that is given on the LA Video Game Babes Examiner page for Alex Mahan. It's described as this: a one-man gaming encyclopedia. Alexander knows everything there is to know about video games and the beautiful women that star in them. As a member of the press and the gaming industry, he gets to play the latest hardware and software at E3 while rubbing elbows with gorgeous booth babes. God. And he's using the picture that he posted on Guy Online. Fucking hell, man. Now, I know you may be saying that this is doxing of some kind, but Alex Ivazefon put his face to his name on a public article. He's an adult. He knew exactly what he was doing. He didn't post this information to his friends. He didn't post this information to his family. He posted it to the internet. There is no shady business going on, there's no hacking going on, and I do not intend to dox him by giving out any of personal information. I absolutely do not intend to do that. Okay, I'm only posting what he's given to us. So before you get on your high horse about doxing or anything like that, I know some stuff is going on with the skeptic community, but that's absolutely not the case here. All the information that we have been given is by Eva Zephon's doing, or by Alex Mahan's doing. So I'll be using Alex Mahan, Eva Zephon interchangeably as the documentary goes on. But furthermore, how do we know that this is Eva Zephon? How do we know that this is Alex Mahan, our favorite good old Yandere Dev? Well, by looking at the subreddit, the creator and moderator clearly shows that it is a variation of the name Eva Zephon. We know that it is him. So establishing that it is Alex Mahan, let's look at some of the tweets that the LA Video Game Babes Examiner has posted. So on March 1st of 2014, Video Game Babes Twitter page posted this: Japan produced yet another game about fondling underage girls. All praise to glorious Japan. Jesus Christ. So Alex Mahan is behind this Twitter page and he's posting shit like this. Christ. Fucking hell, man. And lastly, we have an article discussing Alex Mahan himself with his Video Game Babes page. It reads as this: Alex Mahan, a study in gamer embarrassment. This guy is Alex Mahan. We became aware of him due to previously posted articles on Bulletstorm, and here is why he is way more embarrassing than we could have imagined. He lists himself as an LA Video Game Babes Examiner, which is something no one should ever list themselves as. He apparently writes copious amounts about the various babes in gaming. Apparently hundreds of articles dedicated to various women in gaming, from all facets of the embarrassing gamer world, from horrible figurines to cosplay, to just appreciating in-game models. There is so much to cover here, and I cannot even begin to scratch the surface. This guy is pretty much single-handedly illustrating every fucked up aspect of how gamer men deal with women, and he keeps doing it. Feel free to come up with favorite examples in the comments. He also apparently goes by the internet handle Eva Zephon. If you feel like finding out more, it's not going to make you happy at all. Now, as mentioned before, Yandere Dev, Eva Zephon, Alex Mahan, began to work on his own video games. This was his dream after all, and he began to work on various unknown mobile games for other companies. He himself listed all his previous work here, and I'll just kind of show it briefly, but you kind of get to understand that in this period, Alex Mahan begins to work and earn a living for himself, in a sense. Now, as time went on, Yandere Dev worked on his very own game called Lunar Scythe. Lunar Scythe was a side-scrolling fighting game inspired by the likes of games like Skullgirls, which Yandere Dev idolized. This is very important. So what is the story about? Well, Eva Zephon posted on this forum a kind of brief synopsis of what this Lunar Scythe game is about. And he says this: the main character is a girl in her late teens named Luna. Luna is obsessed with an idea. The idea that this world is full of people who don't deserve to live. Doesn't that remind you of something that Eva Zephon said years and years ago? Really makes you think, hey? Murderers, thieves, kidnappers, human traffickers, drug dealers, arms dealers, arsonists, scam artists, identity thieves? Fuck me. Luna desperately wishes she could do something to rid the planet of such people, but she feels like there is nothing she could do that would ever make a difference. At the beginning of the game, Luna dies. As Luna's spirit looks down on her home body, she feels nothing but apathy. She didn't want to live in a world filled with human filth anyway. That's when Beth shows up. Death looks into her soul to determine which afterlife she belongs in, and he is surprised at what he finds within her. He learns that she is free of sin, yet her strongest desire is to take millions of lives. While examining this pale girl clad entirely in black, who yearns to kill, Death feels as though he's looking at his own reflection for a moment. Fuck, that is really edgy, isn't it? Ooh! Actually, it's actually kind of, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you can kind of see some similarities between the Luna character here in Luna Scythe and Eva Zephon back in 2008 with his Gaia Online posts. You can see a type of similarity here, wanting to eradicate all the filth in the world, and he didn't care. Oh, I'm too edgy. It's fucking hilarious, isn't it? But this is the story of this little Luna Scythe game. Now, when asked about how Eva Zephon, Yandere Dev, managed to put together this game, he replied by saying he got the assets off the Unity Asset Store. Now, for those who are unaware, when making a game in Unity, you are able to purchase or simply download assets made by other people. These assets include models, animations, it goes on. This is something that some developers do in the very early stages of development, just as a proof of concept, just to kind of get an idea of what the game will look like or what the game will play like. Now, all these assets will be replaced in the later stages of development. Now, this is very important, as this will not be the only time Alex Mahan or Yandere Dev will utilize Unity Store assets. However, the circumstances of using Unity Store assets in Luna Scythe and Alex's future games are different, which is something that you have to keep in mind. So Eva Zephon has developed his own little game, which is being shown off to small forums on the internet. But why stop there? Of course, Alex Mahan had to continue to gratify himself and seek validation, and who else but Mike Zemont, or Mike Z, to find it. Now, Mike Zemont is the lead designer and programmer at Lab Zero Games, and worked on Alex Mahan's favorite game, Skullgirls. Now, Alex Mahan came into contact with Mike Z at around about November of 2014, and began to share the project files of his Luna Scythe game with him for, advice and guidance. Now you have to understand that to Alex Mahan, Yandere Dev, Mike Z was his idol, his hero. Alex wanted to just be like Mike. He wanted to program well-respected games and earn a living from that, to be regarded as one of the greats in the game development sphere. So after all these years, Alex gets to show off his very own game, inspired by Mike Z's work. And what happens as a result? Well, Mike looks through the code, and being a programmer himself, he starts to see glaring problems in the code style and the kind of way that Alex Mahan codes and programs his game, and he was upfront with his criticisms to Alex. You see, Alex Mahan is not that very good of a programmer. He's not that artistic, so he can't create 3D models as well, and he can't do as many of those kind of artistic assets, so he turns to programming. But with programming, he can get the job done fine enough, but it's not efficient. He has a lot of redundant code, and you'll see this later on. So this exchange was saved through chat logs, and I thought, what better way to examine this little part of the Yandere Dev saga than to read through some of it and kind of analyze the situation. So the context behind these chat logs is that it's Alex and his friends with Mike Z. Now Mike Z's got the name of Whippler Workin. I don't know how to say that. Is Whippler Workin? Broken? I don't know how to fucking say that's a bit weird. But that's Mike Z's name, and then Alex is of course Eva Zephon, and then the friends are something else. So at the start here, Eva Zephon is fucking complaining. He's bitching, right? He's saying, everyone hates my fighting game. It's the opposite of what I envisioned. When Mike Z's really giving advice, he's given quite solid advice because he's been in the industry for a while, okay? Mike Z's trying to help Alex Mahan actually get this fucking mess of a game into something that can work. He doesn't necessarily like hate the game or care about the game. He cares more about the design and the coding of it. Because he was the lead programmer of Skullgirls, so that's something that he's concerned about. That's something he's worked on. So who else? Who's better to kind of give advice on this sort of topic than Mike Z himself? Here Mike Z says, like I keep saying, these are problems that you will encounter later, and you say, but I haven't encountered them yet, so what I'm doing is solid. And basically what Mike Z is saying is that this code style, this kind of poorly written, redundant code, although it may not have problems initially, it will have problems later on when you're trying to fix bugs and sort out frame rate issues and optimizations, okay? And here, Eva Zephon says, how is it not impressive that I single-handedly created a fighting game? I made a game with intros, idles, walks, runs, jumps, dashes, air dashes, specials, health meters, super meters, throws, air throws, and I hand animated every animation myself. Isn't that impressive? Isn't that respect-worthy? Here, Alex Mahan is basically begging for recognition for something that's not that really hard to do. I mean, Mike Z puts it well when he says, good job, you did a thing in Unity that runs and renders stuff for you, and you made an update loop and some anims. Good shit, sir, you only want to hear that? So Mike Z's basically saying, it's pretty obvious what he's saying. He's like, dude, you haven't done that much. Come on, realistically you haven't done that much. It's so fucking silly that you're coming to me, bitching and complaining because your code's shit, okay? I'm just trying to help you out, and here you are fucking spitting the dummy. And then after that, Alex really fucking, he starts to cry, and he says, why should I ever code again? So you're just saying, I should ignore him? I think a normal person would be incredibly impressed by what I've done, but a hard-nosed programmer would scrutinize things that a layman wouldn't. Wow, God, way to toot your own horn, you fucking narcissist, holy shit. And Mike Z's, he's not being aggressive. He's just simply telling him the facts. He's just telling him, dude, your code, you need to fix it up, dude, otherwise you're gonna have problems later. That's pretty much what Mike Z's saying. And Alex, he's surprised by this because in his mind, in his kind of warped sense of things, he thinks that showing this Lunar Scythe game, Mike Z would be fucking jumping with joy. This fucking programmer in the games industry for years will be jumping for joy after seeing this fucking game that he cobbled together with a bunch of Unity store assets. Yeah, it's pretty pathetic, isn't it? And then Mike Z, he responds quite well. He says, but you shouldn't ignore me if I tell you that the engine will have problems in the future, because that's not subjective advice, it's objective. It's true. He's given objective advice, and I've taken a look at Eva's code itself, and it's fucking terrible. It's horrible. And Eva Zephon continues on being a fucking Suki Lala, like he normally is, and he says, if there's no gratification for what I've done, then it's literally wasted work. If I hear nothing but you did a good job, then it's all for nothing. Like, why should I ever code again? He's acting like a fucking child, and he's in his mid-20s. He's a fucking adult, he's a full-grown man, and he's acting like this. And this is not that long ago. Like, seriously, this is not that long ago, and he's being a fucking Suki Lala. And then Eva wrongly states here, no player will ever know of these alleged shortcomings, though I wish I could get player feedback on how the game feels. Which is the worst possible fucking thinking that you can have. Just because no one is going to see your code doesn't mean it's going to affect their gameplay experience. If the fucking game's running like shit, if there's multiple bugs in it that aren't being fixed. Like, it's actually going to have a lot of effects on the player if you don't do it from the start. If you don't build that good foundation, that good code style, get that fucking redundancy out of there, then other people are going to have problems when they're trying to play your game, okay? And pretty much the rest of the chat log is just him going through and just bitching. That's pretty much the entire thing. He's just bitching and bitching and bitching. It's fucking annoying. It's really pathetic. And it really signifies a turn in the Yandere Dev fucking saga, because he came to his hero, he met his hero, and then he was rejected. His own Lunar Scythe game was swept aside by his fucking eyes, okay? By his sense of things, because Mike Z took issue with some of the code style. Okay, that's not wrong. That's not fucking shitting on you. He's trying to help you, for Christ's sake. He's been giving suggestions about other things that he's been ignoring, and Eva Zephon's having a little bitch about it. He's been a sookie lala. For Christ's sake, mate. And we see this sort of childish attitude from him later on when he creates Yandere Simulator. So that's most of the chat log in a nutshell. It's basically Mike Z giving decent advice to Alex Mahan, and Alex Mahan just being a sook about it. Now this exchange between Alex Mahan and Mike Z really had an effect on Yandere Dev. It really had an effect on Eva Zephon, and he kind of shows his real thoughts of it in an 8chan post, and he says this. I was inspired to become an indie dev by a very well-known programmer who almost single-handedly programmed a fighting game. He was my hero, my inspiration. I decided to try my hand at making a fighting game engine. I worked on it for 3 months and I was really proud of it, so I decided to show it to my hero. He was really unimpressed. He asked to see my code and criticized it very harshly. Yeah, I wonder why. He told me he would never want to hire me or work for me. He told me that my engine was absolute garbage. It was. He told me that the level of coding experience he had in 1999, he could have made a better engine than I had made. Prior to that experience, I was feeling very confident about my coding ability. Well, it was shit, dude. But after meeting my hero and showing him my game, I just felt like some kind of talentless fraud. Really makes you think, eh? I felt like I wasted that last 3 months. I started wondering if I should abandon the game, abandon my dreams of a career in the game industry. I wondered if I should never have faith in my own talent again. Worst of all, my hero said all of this in a chat room with my friends in it, making me look terrible in front of everyone. I lost the respect of my friends, my self-confidence, my career plans, 3 months of work, and my dream of making a fighting game, all in one night. It was devastating. I became depressed. I turned my depression into a burning hatred that fuels my desire to develop indie games and eventually outshine that arsehole. So, in short, Mike Z, a lead programmer of Skullgirls, gave Yandere Dev some advice on his game to help him make the code better, and overall just make the game better. And Alex took this as fucking harsh criticism and as an attack and turned it into some kind of anime-styled fucking rival fucking showdown to kind of outshine him in the future. Which, God, man. Oh, that's just cringy as hell. Now, remember when I mentioned that Eva Zephon had his own forum? Well, he extended that small little following that he had on that forum to a so-called private streaming site where he simply uses it to stream YouTube videos or stream himself playing games. He has this so-called streaming site for a number of years and proclaims that he uses it for chatting with his friends, even though the site's public to everyone. And look, seriously, if he really wanted it to be private, he could easily put it behind a password wall. But, however, everyone can see the chats and the discussions that take place in this so-called private stream site, and we kind of get a real insight into Yandere Dev or Alex Mahan. So the significance of this is twofold. Firstly, we see the messages that Eva Zephon posts in the chat, which kind of reinforces his previous behavior, like the kind of, like the weird and perverted posts we kind of see again. And secondly, we kind of, as I said before, gain a special insight into the inner thoughts of Alex as events unfold. So as a result, I'll kind of show some screenshots as the documentary continues. So from his streaming site, the chats that he makes, I'll kind of show them by, maybe read a few out. And it basically gives a perspective from Alex Mahan himself, in a sense. So we can use this to kind of further understand Alex's opinions on certain matters. And now, finally, we reach present time. The year is 2016, and Yandere Dev has gained quite the following for his game. It's reached the mainstream. All the YouTubers have been playing it, and he's been slowly releasing features for the game as time goes on. And at this time, he's still participating in the Yandere Sim threads on 4v and 8v. Now, the interesting thing about this time is that on these boards, they were his original audience. He himself proclaims that it was made by 4chaners for 4chaners, and he kind of tried to make the game tailored to their tastes, and as a result, tried desperately to appease that crowd by proclaiming he was against SJWs and wouldn't be like the majority of indie devs out there. Now I've got a few posts in which he does this very thing. Now I think this post made by him, sums up quite well. As you can see, he's using a trip code, so he's still a fucking trip fag. Jesus. And he says this: I visit 8chan for the first time in a while, and I find out that you guys think I sided with the SJWs. Really? Take it this blog post. It's kind of like some bug fix WordPress shit. And he says, in that blog post, I told SJWs to fuck off in a civil language. I'm also developing a video game about kidnapping, torture, bullying, suicide, and mass murder. So, what the fuck does that make you think I'm leaning even 1 degree in the direction of the SJWs? Yandere Simulator was born on 4chan, designed by 4chaners, and has been developed with the Chan audience in mind. That's the reason why it became popular in the first place, because it had a bunch of weird shit that you'd never seen in the game made by cucked SJW developers. If I started removing content to appease the SJW shitheads, then the game would instantly lose everything that's cool and unique about it. I've known this since day one, and I've never forgotten it for the single moment that I've been working on the game. That's what my entire blog post was about. So it's a very cringy post, isn't it? It's very desperate. Not that I have anything against him going against SJWs or whatever. Look, I don't care, to be honest. But it's very try hard like, isn't it? He's trying really hard to say I'm one of you guys. I'm made by 4chaners. For 4chaners, you see? It's for the image board community. Which it's come on, dude. Fuck off with that bullshit. We all know that's fucking bullshit, man. And he almost contradicts himself. It's funny, because in this post he says, I've noticed that whenever a YouTuber uploads a video on Yandere Simulator, they have to put a censor icon on the screen where panties appear. That looks like a tedious pain in the ass. So I'm probably going to implement a censor mode option that hides panties. So he's basically just saying that he's telling SJWs to fuck off while at the same time implementing censor modes for those SJW shitheads, quote unquote. It's silly, isn't it? He also desperately tries to reinforce that he is not a sellout, and he posts this fucking thing in 2016 on June the 21st, and he contradicts himself again. The post that I showed before about the censor option, he contradicts himself in this post again. He says this: man, some of the posters in this thread are fucking retarded. If I was a sellout, or if I was aiming for the normal fag audience, which you are, or if I was letting for the YouTuber audience, change my vision for the game, I would have done a bunch of things way differently. Sponsored content on YouTube channel, in-game ads, microtransactions, DLC, early access at this stage of development, include a gay character, include a Muslim character, include a trans character, make 50% of students brown-skinned, shit on white, straight, cis males all the time, remove panty shots, remove bullying, remove suicide, remove torture, remove anything that could trigger someone. As I said before, he contradicted himself with the censor mode, didn't he? I haven't done any of that shit. Instead, I'm still making the exact same game I always was. All the edgy shit is still in there. All the offensive shit is still in there. All the triggering shit is still in there. And you guys are whining because I'm second guessing the appearance of a fucking inventory system. You guys are like a twisted mirror version of the SJWs. Instead of wanting to see a completely inoffensive game, you're pissed at me unless I'm actively trying to offend normal fags with every single decision. Choke to death on broken glass, you fucking retarded faggots. Oh, Jesus. As time goes on, you can see Yandere Dev, this fucking trip fag of a developer, begin to become more and more hostile to the community that he supposedly developed the game for. This is largely due to the fact that, in Alex Mahan's mind, he thought that by trying to fit in with the image board crowd and try and tell them everything they want to hear, he would avoid or deflect criticism and have people endlessly praising him. Which is just, it's so stupid. I mean, God. Of course, that's not how it works, and for a guy who claims to have been on image boards for a while, he obviously did not foresee the fact that people were getting sick, that he was simply adding useless features instead of building on the foundation of the game, which is something that, I'll touch on further on in the video. Then on July the 9th, 2016, Yandere Dev snapped. After finding out that the image board community won't endlessly praise him and will actually give proper criticisms, unlike Reddit and Tumblr, Yandere Dev posted this. Okay, I'm gonna look at the facts here. Go to Reddit. Everyone behaves in a civil manner. It's possible to have constructive discussion about the game. Go to Anime Expo. Everyone's nice, friendly, enthusiastic. People want to hug me, shake my hand, take selfies. Go to 4chan/8chan. Everyone's bitter, cynical, pessimistic. Everyone just shitposts and call me a Jew. A sellout, an SJW. At this point, I've completely forgotten why I ever wanted you guys to be my audience, or why I ever took you seriously, or cared about what you had to say in the first place. I developed the game that you designed. I pandered to you. I made the most anti-SJW game in existence. I took the time to communicate directly with you and ask you for feedback about the game and incorporate the feedback that you gave me, and in response, you treat me worse and worse every time I show up. You know what? That's it. I'm done. You guys aren't worth it. You guys fucking suck. This place really is the anus of the internet. You're nothing but a bunch of assholes who want to use buzzwords and jump on the hate bandwagons. None of you have any worth or value as human beings. Spending my time trying to make you guys happy would be an absolute waste of my life. You're not my audience anymore. I refuse to dedicate my life to attempting to appease people that will treat me like shit no matter what I do. You could have had a developer at your beck and call, making a game custom tailored to your exact tastes. But not anymore. You bit the hand that fed you. Now I don't want anything to do with you anymore. Fuck all of you. Go to hell. Woo, lad, holy shit. Isn't it fucking ironic that he's talking about biting the hand that feeds, when he's the one that's biting the fucking hand? It's God. Oh my god. Alex, what are you doing? You fucking retard. I actually do remember being in this exact thread. And someone did predict this early on. Someone said, you know guys, he's just coming here to fucking say he's done with us and he's gonna fuck off. And then lo and behold, fucking 5 minutes later, he fucking posts this shit, dude. Any sort of respect I had for him for coming on 8V, for, interacting with that community, it's instantly gone. It was gone after that. It marked a turning point in the Yandere Dev saga when Alex Mahan abandoned the very community that he supposedly developed the game for and turned to his own hug box for support and endless praise, such as Reddit and Tumblr. And it's at this point where we begin to see the gradual downfall of Yandere Dev.
Get back! Don't touch me! I'm innocent! You're the murderers! Snake! You should be in this boat! There'd have been no inspection if it weren't for your precious nuke! I risked my life trying to save you all! How can you do this? Am I the only sane one here? It's not my fault!
Look, you can't discard your phantoms forever, Doctor.
Son of a bitch will make it, you know. I can see it now. In no time, he'll be telling tales about the black-hearted Diamond Dogs. The Shining White Knight, blabbering on about our injustice, hiding behind his fool's idea of morality. And all the other fools will stand around, nodding with every word he says.
No. One day he'll see through the lies he's built up, realize what kind of man he really is. What goes around comes around. You can't run from yourself forever.
So, how has Alex Mahan, Yandere Dev, fared in the past couple of years, especially when it's come to the progress of his game? Well, let's go through some interesting events that have occurred during the game's development from around about 2014 to now. Please note that since we are going through the development of Yandere Simulator over such a long period, some issues with the game may be different to now. However, I'll still mention them as it's important to kind of keep in mind. Let's start by going back to what I previously said about Lunar Scythe. When I mentioned that Alex Mahan would use Unity Store assets in his future games, I was obviously meaning Yandere Simulator. Because there's an abundance, an absolute abundance of Unity Store assets in that game. And, why not just start off by looking through some examples. So here we have the AoE character pack. This is the main character of Yandere Simulator. It's a Unity Store asset. It's a game asset. It's by Game Asset Studios. And it's a Unity Store asset that Alex Mahan has pretty much ripped. The model seems familiar because it's the main character of the game. And it's not even made by Yandere fucking Dev himself. Or his volunteers, okay? Maybe a few adjustments have been made, over time to suit the game, but at its core, this is the same model that he's been using for the past, 4 years now. It's not only her that's been used in the game as well. We also have other assets being stolen for the game. The grass texture, for example, was taken from a man called Doug Clayton. When asked about how he felt about having his texture in this game, well, he said this. Hi again, I told him to remove my work, as I didn't want it to be associated with his game, and it looks like he did a very poor job of modifying it to hide the watermark. Thanks for notifying me though, I appreciate it, Doug. There are other examples of Yandere Dev using other people's assets or models, especially through Easter eggs he includes in the game. Which, it's landed him in some trouble over the years, apparently like Toby Fox himself at one point, for adding the Sans character in the game. For a while now, Alex Mahan has a Patreon set up for the game's development, which currently earns around about $5,000 per month. Geez, that's quite a lot. That's quite a sum of money per month. There's nothing wrong with having a crowdfunding support, when you really need it, and the work that you put out for it is satisfactory enough that the patrons are kind of getting their money's worth. But first, before we get into that, let's estimate the total earnings Alex Mahan has made from Yandere Simulator. So we have this infographic here, and it kind of takes into account his ad revenue from YouTube and also his revenue from Patreon. And it comes to the conclusion that approximately $500,000 have been secured in the past 3 years. Please note that this was made back in November of 2017, so the figure may be different now. So whether it's more than 500,000 or less than 500,000, hell, even if it was half of that estimate, that's a fucking significant amount of revenue that's been made over the development of Yandere Simulator, which, mind you, is not over yet. It's not even in early access yet. Either way you look at it, Alex Mahan has made big bucks from his pet project. The question we have to answer is the Yandere Simulator Patreon worth it? Are the patrons getting their money's worth? The answer is, well, not really. Whilst it is nice that Alex Mahan does a transparency post around about every year, it does not change the fact that the work is simply not being done to compensate the funds from his fans. And you have to remember that the majority of his fanbase is underage, and it would not surprise me at all if many of the parents are having their bank accounts slowly drained because of their child, deciding to send their money to Alex. You see, Alex Mahan is really bad at time management, and the way he has his day set out from the get-go leaves a rather small amount of time to actual programming and development of the game. It's funny, largely because of those dang dirty emails.
I receive an avalanche of emails every single day. Depending on how much email I get, sometimes I spend between 8 and 12 hours going through my email, leaving me with no time left in the day to write code for the game.
And even when programming or working on the game, instead of building on the foundations of the game itself and fixing the really big issues, Alex works on Easter eggs to put in his next build. He proclaims that this, it takes 1 second to make, but this is absolute bullshit. Alex has to concede to either one of the facts. Either he creates the Easter egg assets such as the models, sound and programming by himself to then implement within the games with as low bugs as possible, which, it will not take 1 minute, it won't even take 1 fucking hour, it'll probably take longer than that. However, it doesn't matter however long he says it, it won't take fucking 1 minute. Or, he'll have to concede that he doesn't create the assets and simply copy-pastes whatever asset he wants into his game with no second thought, which very well may take 1 minute, as he says, but it also means he is incredibly lazy and rips off other people's work, which we've seen him do in the past, and he'll continue to do this in the future. So, which one is it, Alex? Which one is it? So we can quite safely say that the work output from Alex Mahan when working on Yandere Simulator is not worth the 5k per month that people pay him. And Yandere Dev, he knows this. It seems more and more that the reason behind the Patreon is to simply pose as working on the game, whilst doing the least amount of work possible, and prolonging the existence of the Patreon to its absolute limits, just so he can get the most amount of shekels out of his fucking cult-like fanbase, who'll give him as much money as he asks for, with no question whatsoever. And don't forget that the game hasn't even reached Kickstarter, or the early access stage, which will milk the fanbase even further. If Alex Mahan or Yandere Dev was actually genuine about his intentions behind the Patreon, he would instead have payments come in every time he reaches a development milestone. Not a development build, because that still comes every month, a development milestone. So let's say he gets $5,000, when he completes the next rival, right? When he adds a new gameplay mechanic that's really important to the foundations of the game. This would incentivize him to work towards completing the game, rather than prolonging the Patreon and working on Easter eggs all day. Hell, even the patrons will be getting their money's worth. But at this current time, although I cannot argue the legality of what Alex Mahan is doing, I simply can't say, this kind of behavior is questionable at best. If you can recall, I mentioned that during the development of Lunar Scythe, Alex Mahan was harshly criticized for his poor coding style. After this exchange, most would think that Alex would decide to take the time and work on his programming skills and not make the same mistake again. Right? Right? Well, of course not. And this time around the effects are felt on a much larger scale. But first, how about we actually look through some of the code that Alex has done for the game. So we have this little bit of a code snippet here. Now this is from a video that Yandere Dev posted himself. He basically posted this and kind of had this scrolling by in a transparent rate, so that's why it looks really weird in the background. But you can kind of clearly see what he's going for here, and it's to it's really fucking hard to read, but you can kind of get an idea if you're not into programming. If you're not a programmer, you look at this, you probably think that this is how programming is. Absolutely not. This is a fucking mess. This is just a else if, and he's checking the eye colors of a character, it seems. It's such a fucking... It's ugly. It really hurts my eyes seeing this. The amount of else ifs that are happening here, it's no wonder the game's a fucking buggy mess. Yandere Dev, Alex Mahan, does not know how to code. He is fucking trash at programming. You can just take a look at this. And it's so inefficient. What if there's a bug that goes wrong within this? What if something goes wrong? How hard is it? Fucking hell, man. It's gonna be so hard to figure out bugs. No wonder it takes so long for him to fucking sort out this shit. For crying... God, man. I have no words. I have no words for this shit, dude. And he continues on. He keeps on. So this picture here, he says he's doing the same thing. Else if. For fuck's sake, can't. God, you really should have talked to Mike Z more, mate. You really should have talked to him more. Alex, my man, my dude. Ever heard of a switch case statement, mate? Ever heard of a switch case is much easier to read. Some people will dispute whether it's more efficient. So if you don't know what switch case is, it basically it's similar to an else if, but it's much easier to read, and it helps segment the code a little bit better. Now Alex actually went on CuckV on CuckChan, and he had a little spurgate about this. It says anonymous, but we all know that it is him. Everyone knows that this is Alex Mahan's talking here. He says this. In before someone posted a diploma meme. A reminder that there's literally nothing wrong with nested if-else statements. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You've never written a line of code, and you never will. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. No, Alex, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Yeah, sure, nested if-else statements are fine. In most cases, they are fine. But in your example, dude, they're a fucking mess. They're so hard to read. When nested if-else really impact the readability of your code and other people trying to go through and, actually sort your fucking mess out, shit like that doesn't help. A switch case will be way better in your example. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit heated up because this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He proclaims to be a dev for fucking years, but he's fucking spaghetti and redundant code. No wonder his game's so fucking shit. No wonder his game's so fucking poor in performance. Okay? Sorry, I'm getting a little bit heated. No wonder there's so many fucking bugs in the game. Explain that. Explain why it runs at fucking 10 FPS on most machines. Oh, that's right. That's right, because you've got spaghetti code. That's right. And you code in JavaScript. You code in fucking JavaScript. And only recently did you port it over to C#. Who the fuck codes a game in JavaScript, Alex? Okay? I'm being serious here. Who fucking codes a game in JavaScript? JavaScript is not the ideal language for a game like yours, Alex. And you really fucked up by choosing JavaScript. I don't know why. I don't know why you made the decision. You obviously don't know what the fuck you're doing, because if you did, you would be using C#, which you are using now. So obviously you made a big fucking mistake. Okay, mate? You obviously made a big fucking mistake. In 2017, Alex Mahan partnered up with TinyBuild, who is a well-known indie publishing company, to help with the business side of the game's development, but also with the programming of the game, as the TinyBuild devs will, they'll help port the game to a newer version of Unity. And, they'll fix up Alex Mahan's fucking mess of a program. Within a couple of months, the TinyBuild developer, he delivered. He actually ported the game to C# and made it much better. I took a look at the code myself, and it's beautiful. It's how I would do it. Okay? That's how I would code it. It's not a fucking mess of if-else statements going on. Okay? Like Alex. So, does Alex Mahan take advantage of this fixed code and use this as a second chance to get the game's, performance off the ground and stop having it perform like fucking trash? No, of course not. Instead, he acts like a fucking sook and gets rid of the programmer because the code was too foreign. That's right. Instead of taking the time to study and understand the improved readability of someone else's code, he dumps it. He dumps it all in favor of his shitty, redundant spaghetti code. Alex Mahan truly is a fucking retard. If I'm wrong, okay, if I'm completely wrong, then Mike Z is wrong. Mike Z, a fucking industry veteran, is wrong. Okay? So who's the wrong one here? Fucking retard over here, or an industry professional? Okay? Pick. Choose one. Choose one. Much like how Yandere Dev takes other people's assets for his game, here we have a situation where Yandere Dev took a screenshot from someone called Maika Sozo. She made this artwork of Midori slapping Yandere-chan, it seems, and he put it in his video. Now, this was without Maika's permission, and she says this. He used my art in his video again just now without crediting, even though I left years ago because he refused to credit my input. He stated in the past he doesn't use the stuff from volunteers who left, but here we are, so much for placeholders, lol. And she says again, when Yandere Simulator uses your artwork and fails to credit you again. So obviously, Alex does not have any sort of respect for other people's content. But he also has very little respect for the volunteers who do a majority of the assets for him. He can only program. He can't do any of the art or anything like that, so he gets other people to pretty much make the game for him. So other people have had issue with him over the years. Here we have this guy called Wonkolo, or Dick Golo. He has got a really cool YouTube channel. I recommend you check him out. But he says this in regards to Yandere Simulator. By the way, I'm not going to work on that Yandere game anymore. The game is taking on a really weird direction than first anticipated, and after finding out a lot of the information about the guy, I don't feel comfortable with making his visions for this game a reality. It seems like some kind of perverted spin on the game hatred to me now. Don't go considering this post a call out either, but I really don't want to be associated with this project anymore. Others have informed me of the kind of person he is over time, and my own personal observation was proving to be nothing new compared to past behavior from what I was told. and he posts a bunch of links, like a bunch of evidence regarding Eva Zephon. This post was actually, it's surprising, because this post was made on February 1st of 2015. This is like way before everyone else was going in on him. This is really early on. So it's quite surprising seeing him but him discuss Yandere Simulator and Yandere Dev or Alex Mahan. But there is more to this than this post itself, and we'll discuss it later on. So just keep this post, keep Wonkalo or Dik Golo in mind. Not only Wonkalo had a concerning experience, but also a young artist also had a poor experience with Yandev.
If people follow my DeviantArt, I explained that I made a deal with Yandere Dev to sell Yandere Sim designed merchandise, and I set up a Redbubble and everything. Now, for those who don't know, I tried to make a contract with him a couple days after I emailed him the first time about the deal. And he said, "Oh, I'm too busy making Yandere Sim." And I'm like, alright, that's okay. Now, for those who don't know, as a couple days ago on Reddit, there has been some light that for the most recent proposed feature of downloadable characters proposed by him, the silhouettes. Apparently, he took designs from Ace Attorney and Adoptable Designs, and turned them into the silhouettes and passed them off as his own. Now, that's already shitty enough. I don't think there's any excuse for that. You make $5,000 per month Yandere Dev on your Patreon alone, and you have all these volunteers. Now, after I found out about all this, I was linked to it through a supporter journal, something like that, about, Yandere Dev stealing shit and all that. And, okay. Alright, that's another drama to go after. Another drama in the community. What hasn't he done this time? Now, usually, I've been looking into him as a person rather than as a developer, and it's good game, good concept, but the person behind it is such an asshole, as I found out. Now, to the deal part, I emailed him rather aggressively, I will admit, telling him that I want to be protected as an artist. And since we had this deal, the gentleman deal is not enough. I want a PDF of a simple contract, a digital contract with terms between us. So sign it, and we're both protected if anything goes wrong. For him, his, trademark on the game, because since he's making the game, it's his. So the designs are his, hence why I asked him. And for me, as an artist, so my art doesn't get stolen and passed off as someone else's. He decided that I pointed out, as I've learned, that he tends to spend days, some of his free time, or as he put it, some of his spare time, the little spare time he has left, doing streams on his Twitch and, making Easter eggs and such, as even though he's been promising us Osana for, since December. So I've been telling him, okay, enough of the excuses, whatever. I know you're busy with, doing streams, making Easter eggs, or whatever you have an excuse to do. But this is important. I need a contract. I want a contract. So I gave him the pros of it. Might have been wrong on there. And he decided to say, okay, you're being rude. You're being aggressive. You're just rude. Deal's off. Just nothing about a contract. Just, oh, you're being rude. And I kept asking him, why don't you want to make a contract? I just want answers. At this point, I'm saying screw it. He already said no deal, so I'm not going to press for an actual contract, but I just want some answers. He kept being around the bush, telling me that I was being rude, don't contact me again. You just have a very twisted view of me. That's not... From what I've seen right now, You're as every right as what people have said about you meeting you in person, or at least have worked with you. No wonder so many volunteers have left aborted ship. I feel so bad for those people. See, Yandere Dev, I've offered you my services as a fan. I was actually very excited for this. And from what I've seen when I posted my pieces of art on my DeviantArt promoting this deal, people were actually interested in it. It's a shame. I just wanted to have my rights protected as an artist. Watermarks and such aren't enough these days. And as I've seen with you, you just blank it out. It proves more that the rumors are true of how much of an asshole you really are and think how self-entitled you are. I love your game. I love the concept of the game. But you, as a person, you're shit. And before you say, oh, you're just being a child, this is just another child among, real fans. They're just stirring up drama. Boy, you already dug yourself a deeper hole than you already have. And someday someone's gonna kick you and bury you in that grave you dug. I'm just speaking out and spreading awareness of how much of an asshole you really are. And venting out my feelings. And to be honest, I think now while looking at it, you were just going to use me.
Alex Mahan, Yandere Dev, also had an autistic fit of rage back in 2016 when his game was banned from being streamed on Twitch. Perhaps due to the fact that he knew that the only way his meme game will survive is through streaming rather than YouTube videos. And this is proving more and more true to this day. The whole Twitch fiasco was primarily based on those priceless shekels. Now, one of the biggest issues with the game that I have brought up before is the absolute lack of direction the game has. You see, Alex Mahan suffers from the inability to combat or prevent something called feature creep. And basically feature creep simply refers to the addition of multiple features that aren't crucial to the game's development. And as a result, you get a situation where you've gotten the cart before the horse here, making the game just that much harder to work on, when you haven't even got the foundation set in stone. You see, in almost every aspect of Alex Mahan's life, he has a tendency to paint himself into corners. In this case, he focused way too much on adding Easter eggs and useless features to entertain the YouTube crowd than the actual game where, it's nowhere to be seen. Quite simply, it is a slow, fucking buggy sandbox where nothing remotely interesting happens. Which was what I gathered when I booted up a recent build of the game and actually tried to play it. Perhaps this is why Alex Mahan refers to this as a debug build, but I think he calls it that to avoid or deflect criticism that his game development methodology is inherently flawed, and we have a case here of the right game being made by the wrong man. So we have this man called Asman, and he describes this quite well. He's taken the information, he's kind of gathered all the information, come to a quite accurate conclusion on the kind of progress of the game.
Programming is quite sloppy, and the way that it has been written will actually prevent the game from actually progressing properly. Like a house needs a good solid foundation and you build on top of that. Basically, the foundation is shaky, and whenever he adds a new thing, it causes a whole bunch of shitty bugs. It's turned Yandere Simulator into a bit of a joke, but there is an extreme amount of bugs, and I've noticed it, and a lot of you guys have probably noticed it. Whenever a new feature is added, there's just so many bugs appear. It's just like you can't actually, there's not one single build where there's no bugs. Basically, he fixes a bug, but it doesn't get fixed properly, and another bug comes, or it just screws something else up. So basically, from what I've read in these posts, the way that it's been programmed, it's not a clean, concise way. So basically, anything that is added, basically there's shit that you put in the past that's gonna fuck stuff up, which is why there's so many bugs and glitches. And that is kind of it was the main thing that this Yandere Simulator analysis guy who hacked Yandere Simulator subreddit was saying, and he was sharing all these things with everyone. And he gave a pretty good, very comprehensive list and sort of essay on everything that's wrong with it and why he thinks it's not gonna actually turn out properly. In saying that, he actually showed a lot of posts from Yandere Dev before when he made a game called Lunar Scythe. He showed the similarities of Lunar Scythe and how Yandere Dev made that. and there are lots of bugs, and he tried to push it out there. And at one stage, Yandere Dev said, "This is really impressive, and anyone would be really impressed with it, except for someone who knows programming." And that's kind of exactly what's happening here. All the little kids on YouTube who love Yandere Simulator, they're really impressed with it. They think it's super cool and super fun. But anyone who has any knowledge about programming games, when they look inside it, they're like, that's a fucking mess. Yandere Simulator, it is a cool concept, and it is progressing, however, extremely slowly. It saddens me to say that possibly there are foundational errors in the programming that are actually going to make the game extremely difficult to progress to a good level where it can be played as a normal game without bugs or glitches. The fact that there's so many fucking bugs and glitches, in my opinion, it's going to continue to the end. And in the final game, there's going to be lots of bugs and glitches as well, because there are so many foundational errors.
We'll see Asman later on, it's okay, we'll see him later on. So with no real direction of the game, you would think that people will take up the game concept themselves, which is what people have done. Now, for example, new Yandere Dev managed to recreate the game in 1 hour in C# back in 2016-2017, and create something with way better performance than what Alex Mahan has done in months. It was not only him who had decided to take the reins. Funnily enough, there's a cheap Chinese knockoff game who managed to find its way onto the Google Play Store, and as it turns out, it's more of a complete game than Yandere Simulator itself. So overall, we can say that the progress of the game is a fucking mess, and the prospect that it'll come out in April of 2019 is becoming less and less each day. So who on earth would support Yandere Dev after all these years? Who in their right mind would decide to send their money to Alex Mahan for his fucking mess of a game? Well, who other than the Yandere Simulator fanbase? The YanSim/YanDev fanbase is quite possibly the worst fanbase on the internet, worse than FNAF and worse than Undertale. Why? Well, in those cases, the fandom was over the game primarily and its content. But for Yandere Simulator, it is the fandom over Alex Mahan himself. Because, well, there is no fucking game. And with a channel that has accumulated so many subs and so many views, along with the attention from major YouTubers, Alex Mahan is quite the popular character. The Yandere Dev fanbase is without a doubt a cult comprised of very young, impressionable kids that originate from Reddit and Tumblr. This cult will defend its master, Alex Mahan, to the absolute death. I fucking kid you not. In their twisted and warped minds, Yandere Dev is an oppressed boy who didn't do nothing, and they encourage him to take less and less time on working on the game, which he accepts. He goes, "Oh, you guys telling me to work on the game less? Oh, okay, I'll work on the game less. It's okay, guys. I'll stream some more. I'll play some more games. Yeah, sure. Okay, guys." This cult truly is something. From their wikis, such as the Fanon wiki and Discord cringe, to the forced
"Whoa, technology"
meme.
Wipe this meme from the face of the earth.
From the YanSim persona type self-inserts and disgusting fan art to the unrestrained autism, this cult has it all.
And you look at these things and you think to yourself, you know what? It would be so great if we lived in a world where there was no deception, and there was no injustice, and everything was a level playing field. But then you see stuff like this right here, and I go full Henry Kissinger when I see this. I'm ready to, anything you put on my desk, I'm going to sign it and approve it. Create the AIDS virus. Bang, we got to do it. We got to do sterilization, Planned Parenthood, sterilize the ghettos, everything, okay? This guy right here is irrefutable proof that human beings, they're not treated like cattle. Human beings are not unfairly treated like cattle. Human beings are cattle. This guy is a fucking cow. Hook him up to a milk machine, put a metal rod in his head, kill him, whatever, okay? But he's a fucking animal. And so maybe all this shit that's going on, maybe we deserve it.
So I've been thinking for a while, how can I really show off the best of the Yandere Dev fanbase? How can I show to you, the viewer, the greatest hits off the autistic Spurgouts, the rabid defense of Alex Mahan, and then I was thinking, and then it came to me.
People be complaining about how long Yandere Simulator's development is taking, and I'm like, ever heard of Zelda Wii U? You know, the game that has been in development since 2011 that has a whole team working on it? The one that has been delayed 2 times?
I love how Yandere Dev is so connected to the fan base and acknowledges what people create.
And the one-man developer uses smart, simple solutions to fix important problems while the game is developed. AAA publishers. Just release it and we will patch it later, lel. Keep up the good work, man.
Yandere Dev, can you make the girl's model shorter than the male? It is strange that all girls in the school have the same height as the male. At Lolly Plaza.
Seriously, it is so good to see a developer that's so responsive. Nice to his fans, honest, and the game is damn clever too. I haven't played it in a while, but I enjoy seeing how the game gets updated and the activity on this sub. Yandere Dev is a damn legend.
Oh god, is this becoming enough?
Please, anything but this.
What a way to go.
I really support Yandere Dev and any YouTuber that helped the game make it to where it is today. And yes, it is unfair the way people treat him just because of his past, whether it's true or not. We've all done stupid things in the past, and we've regretted it. I really think you took this with a mature approach, AZ, and you just keep being you.
I met Yandere Dev at Anime Expo. He's a cool guy.
His smile looks so forced.
Anyone that works as hard as he does probably forgets what happiness feels like, lol. Works as hard as he does.
Rap gimme da beat Twitch being a bitch, it will make you flinch not just an inch. Yandere Dev is so cool, he makes Twitch look like a fool. Twitch gives him apology, woe technology, he gives Twitch an agony on banning the Yandere senpai. So cute, make 11 girls dispute, break it down, hope Yandere Dev notices.
For Dev Paycom, it's his birthday soon. So I am going to post this cute but badly drawn fan art for him. I can't believe that my birthday falls on the same day as his. Actually, if you look into his recent videos, it was his email problems. Just like what in Pocket, where my waifu, Yellow, was portrayed as weak when she was strong enough to defeat a dragon master. DevPay was portrayed as a pervert even though he's not. I see him as a hero, but you haters are not. Like him, I had actually lost my sanity years ago. I even tried suicide before, only to fail. I was also diagnosed with autism as a 3-year-old child. This could explain why you may misunderstand me. I am not going to quit Yanseen fandom just for the things you and DevPay had done. Please, DevPay is overworked because of those stupid people out there demanding him for unnecessary things unimportant for a particular game. I hope you will understand this goddamn post. Sorry for my cussing though. Fun fact, I will be turning 16 this year on DevPay birthday. Don't critch for that. Why can't DevPay just like my new posts? I didn't know that I would hurt him so much. Alright. Never mind. He could be busy working on Yandere Simulator. I could be like Riddler-chan, Midori Garin, that he might be annoyed about me. I am sorry if I really insulted her, DevPay. I didn't kidnap or kill her or anything. I just shoved my camera at her and enjoyed her hiding her face animation. Or is it that I wanted to pull her long hair and squeeze her giant boobs that scares her? That she's scared of me after that. To DevPay, I am really sorry for being a douchebag, asshole, jerkish motherfucker. But don't worry, I won't quit the fandom. What is done was done. Silly me. Or is that I am insane or drunk? I had just drink alcohol before posting my pictures.
Those are some big busty boobies.
Yandere Dev, you take as long as you want to get us in already, you take a break.
Release date 2019 seems legit. All jokes aside, I twiddle thumbs for when this happens. Hopefully before Yandere drives himself into an insane asylum. Man has probably done more work on a game than most other humans can fathom.
Back by popular demand. Yan seems smut. Now with everyone's favorite girl.
Hey, I saw the Twitch response and it is disgusting. As a hebephiile myself, their shaming of the sexualities of teens is just fucking disgusting. Kids love to have sex too, and panty shots are okay. Where do I donate? Also, I know how to model in Maya and other programs for assets. How do I help with the game?
Now, you've probably been watching this documentary thinking either one of two things. Either, oh my, all this information is tremendous, why haven't I heard of it before? Or, if you're a fan of Yansim or Alex Mahan himself, you'll be thinking, how do I shut this guy's down video for good? You see, Alex Mahan and his cult are notorious for taking down any and all information that would supposedly smear him. Firstly, let me state that the point of this documentary, this video, is not to smear or slander Alex Mahan and willingly spread false information or anything like that. I'm providing the most accurate and fair depiction of Yandere Simulator and possibly even Alex Mahan himself to an extent, and give future indie game developers a cautionary tale of how not to develop their games. So if you think you can try and take that angle, Alex, because I know you're fucking watching this cunt, think again, mate. Think a fucking again. So what are some examples of them taking down information? First, let's go to Asman, and, bless this guy's soul. He's the most polite man. He promotes Yandere Simulator through his YouTube channel. But he had several videos of his taken down by Alex Mahan himself, because Asman was just taking the piss. He was having a few good bants, and Mahan just had a little bit of a spurg out. He spurged out and took down the videos. Asman responded in the most polite way, and yet he constantly got shit on by Alex Mahan, and Alex Mahan saw him as a nuisance rather than an endearing fan. We also have videos criticizing him being copyright struck by Alex Mahan himself, along with his fucking rabid fanbase, who mass flag videos to try and take them down. So if you're not watching this video on Rommel, the original channel, then you know what happened. I ask everyone that can do it to please mirror this documentary so the truth doesn't get snuffed out. And if the original is still active, all I ask is that you link to the original. That's all I ask, nothing more. People who flag videos because they disagree with them are absolutely fucking despicable and truly are the salt of the earth. Alex Mahan also took measures to try and hide as much information about his past as possible through these posts that I'm showing here. It's almost like he was preparing for this very documentary. It is strange, isn't it? So as mentioned before, Yandere Dev does not work on the game as much as he proclaims. So what does he do instead? Well, he streams, of course. A lot. With all this streaming and responding to emails, our little Yandere Dev, he gets tuckered out. So he needs a little vacation, a little break from work. There's nothing wrong with this, except for the fact that He's taking vacation for hours on end every single day. People have tracked his streaming habits, and even when taking his vacation days out of the equation, the amount of streaming time really stacks up. But how can I convey this to you, the viewer? Well, I thought, why not present it in a fashion which will really activate the elements?
This is why I work on Yandere Simulator 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and don't take any vacations. It's been over a year since the last time I took a vacation, so for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to take some time off. And don't take any vacations.
So how does Alex Mahan, how does he get away with it? How does his fanbase get so infatuated with him? Well, this is all due to the Dev Pie persona that Alex Mahan puts on, especially in his videos. This persona is completely artificial, and there is totally there to gather sympathy and kind of love from his fanbase. However, every now and again, this calm, cool persona slips. What's the matter, little fella? Bad at video games? I can understand being frustrated with a video game, but to literally smash your head against a desk and roar like some furry is quite ridiculous. He also likes to rage about how he wastes an hour trying to find this star or something in Legend of Zelda, and acts like a fucking Suki Lala, as usual.
This is so fucking stupid! This is the dumbest shit! Fuck, why is this happening? Why do I have to do this dumb shit? This is so stupid. What a waste of time. I've been doing this for a fucking hour. God damn it. I have such little spare fucking time to play video games. And I have to waste my fucking time, my little fucking spare time, doing this shit. This is so fucking stupid. Why? This is so fucking dumb. Who wants to fucking do this? God fucking damn it.
What also is ridiculous is the cutesy Dev Pie avatar versus the real man. This is Alex Mahan in 2017, and just, poor guy. As established previously, Yandere Dev was quite the perv back in his early years, and this has not changed one bit. He is obsessed with what I call the triple B, big busty boobies.
Those are some big busty boobies.
Slurp, slurp, little Alex. Slurp, slurp.
I ain't going back to prison. I ain't going back. I don't even know what's going on. There's nothing over here. It's a waste of my time. I got him on a stick, though. I'm a girl with a stick. Can I make my boobies bigger? That's how I like them. That's how I like them. That's how I like them. Oh, no smaller than that. That's the bare minimum. That's the bare minimum right there. Oh, look at those graphics. Top 10.
He also still has his little waifu, Zero Suit Samus.
Of course I have a wife. Her name is Zero Suit Samus. Her name is Samus Aran, and she is a bounty huntress, and she hunts bounties in her spaceship. She flies around the galaxy and she shoots Metroid, and she's married to me. We're married. We're husband and wife. Every day I come home from work after a hot day of slaving over a hot keyboard, and I say, "Honey, I'm home," and she runs to me wearing her Zero suit and an apron, with her boobs jiggling as she runs to me, and she says, "Welcome home, honey," and she gives me a big, sloppy, wet kiss with lots of saliva on the lips. And I say, "It's so good to see you, honey," and I kiss her back.
Man, you gotta feel for the guy sometimes. This has been his waifu for over 10 years now. I wonder if he'll ever find the one for him. Who knows? He's looking like he's approaching his 40s when he's, what, 27? Time's running out, Alex, time's running out. Alex even confessed to Wonkalo about his perversions, and, well... So, Wonkalo, on 2017, so like 2 years later, he said this, he posted this. Fucking it was a revelation for everyone who was following Yandere Dev. It's a true representation of him, really, isn't it? He says this, quote unquote, "Why did you quit the Yandere Simulator project and claim that Yandere Dev is doing some creepy stuff?" You can pretty much look up online everything involving Yandere Dev, aka Eva Zephon, to be filled in on all of that. Literally just Google Eva Zephon and check out the first 2 links there as repositories of info about him, like everywhere, and how he constantly tried to hide his identity under other aliases in the past. My story is just a drop in the ocean of all the shit he's done, and any research you do on him will explain why he's trying so hard to hide under the Yandere Dev alias, whilst making his fetish murder simulator game of his. I left the game like 3 years ago when everyone just knew him as Yandere Dev, because at that time of my working on it, was simply just a character walking around some classrooms with props and such that I modeled, and I was very young at the time, clinging to everything that made me feel like an indie dev. But then he wanted me to model some shit like panties and sexual shit, and that's all on top just the mess that was working with him, in which he would make me model an entire environment and then tell me, "Oh, I forgot to tell you several days ago that I don't want that model anymore." And then he started sending me references from a bunch of porn games like Artificial Academy, and requested models involving panties and shit. He revealed who he was via a direct link to his anniversary stream on his WordPress blog, and I saw just who he was as a person, in which he streamed Silent Hills and did shit like taking the time to wedge the camera to look under Ashley's skirt in Resident Evil 4 to make slurping noises with his mouth, and talking about how tight her butt is and shit, and just confirmed like all my suspicions, and upon further my research of my own, found out that he is in fact a pedophile, that he solicited nudes from a minor a few years before, and that was the instant "holy shit, okay, I'm getting the fuck out of here" moment for me. This is what he emailed me when he said why I left. "I'm a perverted sexual deviant, and I absolutely love to perv on sexy video game girls and anime girls. That's a core part of who I am, and I'll openly, publicly, and eagerly state that fact, absolutely anywhere. If lewd/sexual/perverted content and comments offend you, and you'd rather not be associated with that kind of project, I understand completely, and I can't hold a grudge against you for that. It simply means that I need to seek out team members who aren't bothered by that type of content, or by those types of remarks. I already found 5 other perverts, now I just need to find one who can model props and environments, and doesn't care what I did 5 years ago." See, everything we said about Alex is true, guys. Everything we said about him is true. He just confirmed it himself. The rape fan fictions, the perviness, everything we found is true. He just confirmed it himself in his own words. This all happened like 3 damn years ago, and getting prodded about why I left is evident that he's been on some high-end damage control and charades and public relations hell, and is reaching critical efforts to hide the fact of who he actually is. Even big game YouTubers are finding out about him, and he responds in this kind of way. Hell, most of his volunteers that work for him are still unaware. If you check up on him now, you'll see that he's still doing the shit, dude. I shit you not. And this refers to a Reddit post that Yandere Dev made, and this is what he said. He said, Yandere Dev said this: "One of those suggestions remind me of something I was playing a long time ago." And he goes down. One of the points it says he's basically describing the delinquents feature in the game, and then he says his specialty is snuff films, organ harvesting, and human trafficking. He wants you to provide him with video footage of committing murder, kidnap boys, and kidnap girls. What the fuck? What the fuck? Am I the only one that's seeing this and just going, what the oh my god. This is in his own words. What, like, I'm sorry guys, I know I'm acting a little bit energetic here, but you have to understand that, I'll explain this a little bit further on, but Yandere Dev, Alex Mahan, always says that he can debunk anything. He can debunk any of the claims made against him. Yet, in his own words, he's fucking confirming what we've been saying, okay? In his own words. Alright, guys? And then Wonklo continues. His game is banned from Twitch because of the nature of how he depicts minors in a high school killing each other and using panty shots as currency. He tried to evade accusations by going, all characters 18 and older, even though if otherwise specified, to justify having shit like this. And he shows this picture. What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck is going on, Yandere Dev? And then he finishes off. Wonklo finishes his fucking magnificent post off with this. Happened to high school children, and is trying to go on with some I'm defending mature indie games to try and militarize as many people as possible to crusade against Twitch to allow games like Reupload and so forth to be unbanned, and basically begging the video game community to raise the bar of mature content to try and get games like his to be welcomed as commonplace in society. I mean, I can go on, there's bigger collections of information on the guy that you can very well easily find out, and greatly surpass my personal encounter with him. There's streamers and artists and plenty of women he has creeped out, and so much more, since he's like the Keemstar of pedophiles. But there you have your answer. And then, yeah, he finishes up like that. Holy fuck. That post really did show, like, that was a really good first-hand account, okay? What a fucking read that was. Holy shit. It is true that Alex Mahan is into some pretty weird shit, and he doesn't hide it.
Walks into his director's office, he's like, "Sir, what is it, agent? You might want to see this." And he hands over, like, my internet search history. So the guy is like, flipping through the pages. How to commit murder and get away with it. Best way to commit murder. Best weapon for committing murder. Best sharp object for chopping up a body. Is it possible to dispose of a dead body by flushing it down in a toilet piece by piece? What temperature to incinerate a dead body? Best poisons. Fastest acting poisons. Non-detectable poisons. How to get a weapon past metal detectors. How deep should you bury a corpse? How to prevent a corpse from being discovered. Best corpse disposal methods. Does the Breaking Bad acid disposal method really work? And then he slowly looks up from the paper, and he's like, "This guy is a Class 1 threat."
Oh, Alex, you forgot the part where you were searching up hot lolly pictures on February 7th, 2017 on your YTMND page? Oh, I guess it slipped your mind, eh? Talking about that subject, Alex Mahan also has used lolicon imagery to promote his game. Here is the image. Already, that shit is incredibly questionable, but someone who did the research and found out the source of that image said this. Yes, it is porn, but not even normal porn. It's about a girl of about middle school age, oh fuck, oh god, who's addicted to drugs and ends up getting violently gang raped, inflated, and impregnated by a bunch of fat old men and turned into a sex slave. The fuck, Yandev? Yeah, the fuck. That's absolutely disgusting. What the fuck is wrong with you, man? God. That's taking the line too far, cunt. I can understand a little bit edgy content, but when you get into shit like this, that's too far. Like, honestly, that's on my line. You're fucked, cunt. That's fucked up, mate. Now, I know I'm getting all energetic, but I will not make any accusations on whether or not Alex Mahan is well. You all know what I'm saying. These are serious accusations, and quite simply, the evidence is just not solid enough to argue either way. But in my eyes, it's really, really questionable, taking into account his past behaviors as well. Yandere Dev Alex Mahan also hates modders for his game because, since it's made in Unity, it's rather easy to add mods. However, Alex disabled the ability to mod after he got bug reports because of a mod that allowed you to change the size of models in-game. Yandere Dev sent him an email telling him this because of his mod, and he had to disable modding, in which the modder gave a short response video, and Alex Mahan, in a fit of autistic rage, said this: "No, you can fuck right off. You've got absolutely no clue what you're talking about, you fucking dumbass. If something is an obstacle to development, I'm going to eliminate the obstacle. The mod was presenting obstacles for me in the form of worthless bug reports, so I cockblocked it. Go stick your dick in a beehive if you've got a problem with this decision, you dumb fuck." Wow. Wow, what a cunt. Fuck you. You're fucking shitting on people who are actually helping your game flourish. This developer desperately tries to be a based dev that cares about his community, but he's directly shitting on the very people who are helping the game's community grow. What a cunt. I apologize for my insults, but this is just unacceptable behavior, especially from Alex Mahan. But we're finally nearing the end of the documentary, and Alex Mahan's fans, or Alex himself, will most likely be saying that all of the information in this is false and bullshit, which of course we both know, you and I, the viewer, it's not the case. Alex has a tendency to explain away all of his so-called sins, and has done so multiple times without actually refuting any of the evidence. He first did this in his post clearing up misunderstandings, and bullshits his fanbase by saying 99% of the claims are false, which we all know is incorrect on Alex's part. In Discord and Reddit, he at the same time claims that he can debunk every claim, and he would email you one-on-one when he contradicts himself. He says, I'll email you one-on-one and I'll debunk everything, whilst in his misunderstandings post he says, "Fuck you, stop emailing me." Which one is it, Alex? Okay, which one is it? You fucking retard, okay? He cannot debunk any claim because he's barely done, he hasn't done it in a satisfactory way, okay? He's just said, "Oh, it's not true." Okay, well, debunk it, dude. If you're gonna debunk it, instead of just saying, "Oh, it's not true." In Alex's eyes, simply just denying clear evidence is good enough to debunk it.
You can like find a video of someone doing something or saying something, and then try and make them look bad by taking it out of context. Flo Cherry X, you're acting like I play video games all the time and I lie about it, but that's not true. You have this like weird misconception that I'm a liar or something, but I'm not a liar. I just started playing games because people just started telling me to play more games.
7 days a week. And don't take any vacations.
Like I asked people, should I play more games? And they said yes, so here I am playing a game. Like, where's the problem? Where's the contradiction? I have a feeling you're just here to start trouble. I didn't make any time for games in my life because I thought people were going to hate me for it, but then people told me it was okay. So I'm playing games. Now that I know I have the permission of the fan base to do it, I want to stream games for 4 hours every night. Discord. Oh, fuck that guy. That guy's an asshole. That guy should go away. The outcome of the polls was pretty good for me. Here's what's likely to happen. I'm likely to begin working together with a company to finish the game, but not one of the companies that's making a really bad deal. Those are some big busty movies. Jeez, it's this area again? It better not be the exact same mission I was just on. This is a new one, right? Yeah, this is a new one. Well, everyone told me to spend less time working and more time playing video games, so I'm making time for video games. Oh, there's a video in the background? I didn't realize there had been a video playing in the background. That's inconvenient. I didn't make any time for games in my life because I thought people were going to hate me for it, but then people told me it was okay. So I'm playing games. I have a feeling someone's going to try and make a video where they like cherry pick a bunch of things that I've said to try and make it look bad. But I could explain, like, you know that one thing that happened with PewDiePie?
We can start to see a clear pattern with his denial. It's almost hilarious. This whole situation is analogous to a man who just committed murder, has the weapon in his hand, blood on his shirt, and the body sitting right next to him. And when a police officer comes, he says, "Oh, I can debunk it all, officer. I didn't do it. Just send me an email, and I'll debunk you one-on-one. You see, officer, your warped perspective makes you think I'm the killer, but in reality, I'm not, officer. I didn't do nothing." This is the same sort of situation. And at last, we have come to the conclusion of the documentary, the end of the line. So what lessons can we learn from Alex Mahan? Well, firstly, the reason I went into his past was quite simple. Whilst it is true that people do change over time, Alex, or Yandere Dev, absolutely has not. He still exhibits the same behaviours as he did back in 2005 and 2008. Just because it happened years ago doesn't mean you can't be criticised for it if you have not changed your ways since then. If Alex did change, I would not have brought it up in the first place. So from this example, it is advisable to have at least as small as a part of a past on the internet as possible, or at least just don't leave posts around such as killing your parents for one, or, so people can find them later on. So just don't leave breadcrumbs behind if you're wanting to be an indie game dev. Secondly, don't abandon your original fanbase and become their enemy, much like Alex Mahan did. And for Christ's sake, don't turn to Reddit or Tumblr for endless praise and a safe hug box. Third, manage your time effectively. Alex did not do this and suffered harshly as a result. Set aside the weekends if you have to, or at least one day in which you'll just do no work, and then sort out how much work you'll do in the rest of the week. And make sure you do the work that is quality, like do quality work and not waste your time on Easter eggs when there are more pressing matters to attend to. Extending off that, the fourth tip is to build your game's foundation from the bottom up. Don't fall victim to feature creep and ensure the base mechanics of the game are properly ironed out before you start to implement the extra features. Get the horse before you buy the cart. Fifth tip is to ensure that any following you have does not turn into the shit show that it is the Yandere Dev cult. Take action if you absolutely have to. Better you fucking take action than it turn into this. Sixth tip is to, if you're going to go create a Patreon, actually deliver on your promises and ensure that the patrons are getting their money's worth. 7. Don't put on a fake persona and don't shit on modders. Just don't be like Alex Mahan, whatever you do. And those are the most crucial tips I can just give you straight off the bat. The lessons that I've accumulated and learned from Alex himself have kind of really given me a new perspective on how to go about developing your own indie game just by yourself. So what is the final verdict on Alex? What kind of man is he? Well, Alex Mahan is a man who lived the neat life, spent his early years on the internet showing the world what kind of man he truly is. From guy online posts to rape fanfics, from being rejected by Mike Z to shitting on your original audience, from buggy games to a cult following, Alex Mahan has it all. Perhaps in the beginning, Alex had good intentions with Yandere Simulator, but in reality the game was a product of its time. At that time, games like Goat Simulator were making the rounds, and Yandere Simulator was no different. Except Goat Simulator has faded from the spotlight, knowing its time was up and leaving the stage, whereas Yandere Simulator is a corpse of something that was never truly born to begin with. A meme game that was taken too far, and now has become a mess, a disaster, with the worst possible man behind it. The game is nothing more than a train crash happening in slow motion. I do have some pity for Alex. I actually feel sorry for him in some instances. An annoying fanbase, a bloated game, so much responsibility, it really must have an effect on the man. But I'm reminded again and again of his arrogance, of his lack of any sort of respect for others. At this point, he dug his own grave. He painted himself into this corner. Now it is time for him to lie in it. Of course, he won't. He won't, until he has no other way out. He himself believes that he's done nothing wrong. He's free of blame, and of course by now we all know this to be false, we all know this. At this rate, the game will not come out by April of 2019, and from here on, people shall remember and learn from Alex Mahan, Yandere Dev, Eva Zephon, however you call him, and his story will be a cautionary tale for future indie devs to come. And that is all. That is the story of Yandere Dev. I'd like to thank everyone that has had a hand in making this documentary happen. Kogirils Milf, Yandere Data Digger, Lily, all my mates, you know who you are. A certain group of New Zealanders, and everyone else who did the digging and uncovered all of this information. I could have gone into a little bit more. There were a few topics that I kind of left out, regarding chat logs or other stuff like that. But you can go find that information out for yourself. It's quite freely available. And to Alex Mahan himself, for I know who's watching this, you got outplayed, so just take the L and actually work on your game. I felt like I was quite fair to you, Alex. Better me than someone else blowing you the fuck out. And I know you may think you can fucking flag this video and take it off, but mate, I've got measures to account for your potential takedowns. It ain't gonna work the way you want it to. And to you, the viewer, thank you so much for sticking by to the end. I know it was a long and hard road, especially making this, and probably for you for watching this, listening to my awful mic and fucking mess ups and mistakes and shit like that. But look, you stuck it through. And so if you're gonna leave a comment, please include the phrase, Yandere Dev, Yandere Dev. I did not believe your lies. So I know you made, you watched it to the end. You stuck it out to the end. Just so I know. And to cap it off, I made one last skit to truly have a good old send-off, which I hope you enjoy. At last, thank you for following the development of the rise and fall of Yandere Dev. Farewell.